believe what is on the stage, what is on the screen? Say amen. What is wrong with y'all? Heartburn is not awesome. Or is it? I'm going to try to prove to you that it is. And not the normal kind of heartburn like from eating chili or tacos or Taco Bell or something like that. Because if you do those things, you must really, really hate yourself. All right. This is found in the book of Luke, chapter 24. And let me tell you, this was right after Mary, a few Marys, gone to the tomb to anoint the body of Jesus, and they did not find him there. The angels came and said, "Why are you looking for the living among the dead? He is not here, he is risen." So they went back and they told the apostles, and John and Peter ran to see if it was as the lady said, and when they looked in there, there was no body. All they found was some strips of linen that were folded up lying on the table. And they went back not understanding what Jesus had told them was going to happen was happening. Well, here we have a couple of the other disciples walking down the road on a road to a town called Emmaus. And this is where we pick up. It says in verse 13, "Now that same day, two of them were going to a village called Emmaus, about 7 miles from Jerusalem. They were talking with each other about everything that had happened. As they talked and discussed these things with each other, Jesus came up and walked along with them, but they were kept from recognizing him." I don't know really why Jesus wanted to keep them from seeing who he was right away. I think it was so that he could teach them a lesson. Because sometimes Jesus is, not sometimes, all the time, he's around us. He's everywhere. And he's always trying to make our lives better, teach us and show us things. A lot of times we're just kind of ignoring it. We're not seeing it. But he always shows us at exactly the right time, exactly when we need to see. Now these guys were walking on the road, and Jesus came up and he asked them, he says, "What are you discussing together as you walk along?" It says that they stood still with their faces downcast. One of them, named Cleopas, asked him, he said, "Are you the only one visiting Jerusalem who does not know the things that have happened there in these days?" Where have you been? You don't know what happened? You hadn't heard about Jesus, the Son of God, and how he was arrested and how he was taken and they had him beat, and it's a wonder he even survived the beating, because they took him and they strapped him, and those Roman soldiers, that was the worst punishment anybody's ever received, the way that they ripped his flesh off his body. We have read, we've been taught back, the prophet Isaiah said several hundred years ago that you would be able to see his bones. And we did. We saw the flesh ripped from his body, and we saw his bones. And they made him tote his cross up this mountain. It's called Golgotha. And up there, they hung him on the cross. And we saw as he bled out, he left a trail of blood down what we called the Via Dolorosa. And it's this road all the way through Jerusalem. You haven't heard about that. You haven't seen that. You don't know. Well, they hung him there. The sky got dark. And the earth shook. The veil that was in the temple was torn from the top to the bottom. The earthquake caused the temple to crumble on itself. You didn't feel any of this? You didn't hear any of this? They were remembering all the stuff that took place that day. All the stuff that just shook them to the core. All these bad, awful things. Jesus asked them, he says, "What things?" They said, "Jesus of Nazareth, he was a prophet, powerful in word and deed before God and all people. The chief priests and our rulers handed him over to be sentenced to death, and they crucified him. But we had hoped that he was the one who was going to redeem Israel. And what is once more, it is the third day since all this took place." In addition, some of our women amazed us. They went to the tomb early this morning, but they didn't find his body. They came and told us that they had seen a vision of angels who said he was alive. This some of our companions, they went to the tomb and they found it just as the women had said, but they didn't see Jesus. Jesus said to them, "How foolish you are, and how slow to believe all the prophets have spoken. Did not the Messiah have to suffer these things and then enter his glory?" And beginning with Moses and all the prophets, he explained to them what was said in the Scriptures concerning himself. So they were remembering what had happened. They were remembering a little bit about what they had experienced with Jesus. But y'all check this out. Jesus started all the way back with Moses. See, what had just happened was the Passover meal, where they celebrated the freeing of the Jewish people from being slaves in Egypt. And Jesus went all the way back to Moses. You remember how our people were freed? They were bondage. They were in this bondage with Egypt. Pharaoh was awful to them. Had them building pyramids and big giant rock cats out in the desert and all that. And it was just awful. People were dying left and right, starving, just dying of dehydration, and it was an awful, awful time. And God used Moses. You remember the prophet Moses, who couldn't talk right. He had this stuttering problem, and he called him to speak for him. And he sent Moses in there to tell Pharaoh to let my people go. And finally, after God sent, it was like 10 plagues on the people. Finally, Pharaoh said, just leave. And as they got to the sea, there was cliffs on either side. Pharaoh and the Egyptian army behind him, and they had to get out. So God parted the sea, and they walked through on dry ground. And then after they all got through to safety, the sea swallowed up all of Pharaoh's army. And the Jewish people were freed. They were freed. Do you remember that? You remember how God brought that freedom? The death angel came, and all they had to do was put the blood of the lamb over the doorpost of every home. And as long as there was blood of the lamb on that home, the death angel would pass over. That's why we came to Jerusalem. That's why we're here right now, so that we could observe the Passover and remember what we are celebrating. God saves. God saved us. Jesus died on the cross. We believe that this Messiah was going to save us. We believe that the Messiah was going to redeem Israel. Ain't that what they said? Is that what they said? We believed that he was going to redeem Israel. Well, Jesus said, don't you remember all the things that were said? Isaiah the prophet, he spoke and he said that he would be pierced for our transgressions. He would be crushed for our sins. The punishment that would bring us peace would be placed upon him. And by his wounds, we are healed. So Jesus died on that cross so that we could be forgiven, so that we could be made whole again. They were like, okay, it's starting to make a little more sense. You know, in our lives, I don't know about y'all. In my life, there was a time when things didn't make sense. This didn't make sense. The whole religion thing didn't make sense. And the reason why is because I didn't want it to. Okay? There was a time in my life when I was kind of like these guys on the road to Emmaus. I knew some stuff, but it just wasn't making complete sense to me. And let me show you how it changed. As they approached the village to which they were going, Jesus continued on as if he was going a little further. But they urged him strongly, stay with us. It's nearly evening, the day's almost over. So he went in to stay with them. And when he was at the table with them, he took the bread, gave thanks, broke it, and began to give it to them. Then their eyes were open and they recognized him, and he disappeared from their sight. And they asked each other, listen to what they said. They asked each other, were not our hearts burning within us while He talked to us on the road and opened up the Scriptures to us. Heartburn is a good thing. When God gets to burning in your heart, things start to make sense. Now, there was a time when heartburn to me was just something that I dealt with Tums or Rolaids. And that was pretty much the gist of it. But then later on, my heart got to burning in a different way. I got convicted of my sins because I knew that what I was doing, how I was living, it was not right. Has anybody ever felt like that? Okay. Let's try it like this. Have you felt like something is a little wrong? Have you felt like something ain't right? Have you felt like you're just not? No, something ain't right. I mean, how about this? Did you do anything? Let's just take it this past week. How's y'all short-term memory? Y'all ain't smoked up all them cells yet, have you? All right. So short-term memory, you got it? This week, did you do something, think something, say something, act like something that you wouldn't stand up here and do right now? All right. Now, does that bother you? Does it bother you at all? Be sure your sin will find you out, so says the Bible. So, if the sin starts to bother you, then y'all, that's the beginning. That's the beginning of starting to understand and starting to realize that this heartburn is a good thing. It's burning in my heart. I can't stand it. Look, if you have heartburn, indigestion, it would be, I don't know, it would be kind of silly to not try to remedy that, right? I mean, you would drink some Pepto or take some Rolaids or something like that. I've even mixed baking soda with water and drank that before to try to get rid of it. I mean, if you've dealt with some bad heartburn before, you know the pain. It feels like, ugh. And I always thought all them years dealing with that stuff, I was like, ooh, this has got to feel like my heart's going out. My heart's going out. And then I felt like what that was. And I'm like, no, that's different. But it's kind of the same. It's that chest pain. It hurts. So let's do something about it. So about 20 years ago, my sweet wife talked me into going to Dr. Holcomb, the gastroenterologist. Biggest word I ever learned. We went, and he said, yeah, you got a valve at the end of your esophagus. When you swallow, it opens up, and then after you swallow, it shuts back. He said, you don't have one anymore. It's just gone. And I know why. It's because of all of that cooking that Mama did over the years, that it just burned it off. It did. It just burned it off. I had a high level of acid, and it just stayed, my stomach just stayed full of acid. So it burned all the time, and it finally just burned it off. It just burned it off. So they did a thing, and I've always remembered part of the name of it, because part of the name of it is Nissan. Huh? So it was some kind of Nissan something or other. And what they do is they take your stomach and they wrap it around the end of your esophagus so that it'll stay closed. And I'm like, okay. So this is all this kind of stuff that I went through. They had like 6 holes in my stomach where they went in, and laparoscopically, I thought that meant not as many cuts, but it's just not one big cut, just a bunch of little ones. I looked like I had been on vacation in the south side of Chicago. So we was over there, and it helped. And y'all, it shrunk my stomach. I couldn't eat that much. I lost some weight. I was like, I'm doing all right. Yeah, all y'all doing with this lap band stuff, I was way ahead of y'all. I had a Nissan version. So it was good. It fixed the heartburn. So I said, I guess I can eat whatever I want to now. So I would eat whatever I wanted to. I would eat chili. I would drink orange juice again. I was liberated. I had been freed. I was so excited. Then I started getting a little heartburn again. And a little more and a little more. Y'all know that thing is come undone? It came undone. It come undone. It ain't sewed up no more. They went in there and looked. It was like, we need to sew it back on. I'm like, I don't have much confidence in y'all. It come undone. Yeah, but you stretched it way back out. You done this. It ain't my fault. I didn't do it. Yeah, you did. From all of that eating. All that eating you did. You did it. You did it. Well, maybe I did. What makes you think I did it? Well, how's your cholesterol? Hey, well, let's not get into that now. Okay, so now you messed up your stomach and your heart and your veins. Okay. Maybe it is what I've eaten. Maybe my heart has been burning for a long time. Maybe it is my fault. Well, what can we do to fix it? Do you want it fixed? Because, the options are there. You can just ignore it and die. Right? You can. If you're having some physical troubles and it's bothering you bad enough, you can go and get it fixed. You can get your stomach wrapped up. You can get your heart operated on. You can do whatever you need to do to get it fixed, or you can ignore it. You have that freedom. You can ride it out. Hey, there was a time in my life that I would have much rather just, got me a pack of Marlboros and just sat down and been like, I ain't fooling with all that. I ain't fooling with all that. I'm just going to ride this out. And been just, But my heart was burning. And I saw that there was an option to it. There was an alternative. I did not have to stay with this burning heart and this broken heart and all this stuff all the time. There was a choice. And to me, this heartburning verse right here reminds me so much of our physical walk. The spiritual side of this is that when you realize that something is wrong, God's not going to make you straighten up. He's not going to make you better. He's not going to make you try to do things right. He's going to give you the freedom. If you want to do what you're doing, then you can do it. You can be what you're doing if that's what you choose. Or if you want to change something, if you want to be fixed, He's making that available too. So, when we get to the point where the heartburn's getting to be too much, let's go to the doctor. If you were like these guys here, like old Cleopas and this other guy, I don't know who he was, but you want to be like them, first step is to realize, hey, something ain't right. I want to see my Jesus. They were kept from seeing Him until their heart started burning. Once their heart started burning, then they could see Jesus. Now, let me ask you this. When you sin, when you do something that is wrong, when that thing is going bad, and it could be a little bitty thing, or it could be a great big old thing. But when you are sinning, does it bother you? Does it bother you so bad that you want to change? There's going to be a time in your life when it don't. And you may be stuck in that right now. Where something is bad, but you're not willing to do anything about it yet. It's at that moment that you have a choice to make. Will I be revived? Or will I not notice that Jesus is walking alongside of me? Folks, let me tell you something. Jesus is right there beside us. Every single one of us. Whether you have been saved, whether you are lost, Jesus is right there beside you, calling you, wooing you, trying to get you to see. Trying to make your heart burn. if he can stir inside of you, there's no telling what could happen. Let me tell you this, and then we'll close. Let me tell you this. We'll be done. All right? So wake up. Here we go. About a year ago, there was a virus done got loose. All right? I don't know where it come from. I believe some Chinese dude ate a bat. I don't know. All right? They done got some COVID and it's running around. The first 18 of them wasn't that bad, but 19, whoa, watch out. Everybody got to dress up like a bandit. We got to stop going places. We can't be getting around each other. All right? Everything is all, it's crazy, right? And Satan had us right where he wanted us. Y'all, the past year, my heart's been burning with anger. It's been burning because I can't breathe in this thing. It's been burning because I feel like Satan is trying to just destroy church. He's trying. He's trying. Okay. Has it bothered you at all? Has it bothered you some? Y'all, it's the same thing over and over and over. Satan is trying his best to make us where we don't care, where we have a built-in reason to not go to church. Because you can't. You can't go. It's shut down. We didn't even get to have Easter last year because of it. All right? Okay. Well, we probably could have, but we didn't. But it's just, enough is enough. Easter is a perfect opportunity to declare that God makes all things new. The resurrection of Jesus Christ is a perfect moment for us to say, no more, Satan. My heart is burning inside of me and I'm ready to do something about it. I have missed being in worship with you guys. I have missed being able to come to church in the middle of the week on a Wednesday night and have church with all of y'all. And I wanted the enthusiasm of we can be with Jesus. We can be together. I want that burning heart inside of all of us. Now, God has rekindled that inside of me. I have been asking God for a revival in our church, and He done set me on fire like immediately as soon as I started praying about it. It's like, well, let's just have that then. Let's just have a revival. Why not? If your heart's burning inside of you, then that's all it takes to be on fire, isn't it? These guys were in the presence of Jesus. They were walking along the road with Him. They knew about Him. They had witnessed the end of His life. They had experienced the resurrection of Him, but they still didn't understand everything, and that's all right, because Jesus was still with them. Just like each and every one of us. Jesus has been walking alongside you. You might not have seen Him. You might have been like, I'd rather not. But He's been walking right alongside you. And I think right now, if you would let Him, He'll give you some heartburn. He'll make your heart burn and you will realize, wait a minute, my life can be better. My worship can be better. My communion with the Holy Spirit can be better. My church attendance could be better. My style of worship in my own home could be better. My Bible reading could be better. I could be on fire if I would just let it happen. Is your heart burning inside of you? Do you feel it? Do you feel God calling you? Let's get not just get back to the way it was. Let's get into this new season. You know, let's see what God's about to do. Do you feel any kind of enthusiasm? Do you feel God calling you back? Do you feel God lighting a fire in you? Do you feel it? from Him. When Jesus went to the cross and died on the cross, He did it so that we could live. When Jesus got up out of that tomb and rolled that rock away and came up out of that thing, He defeated death so that we could live forever. Not live in fear, not live a life of defeat, not live a life dressed up like a bandit, but live a life of victory for Jesus. I believe that's what He's calling us to do. I believe that's what He's calling each and every one of us to do. Is your heart burning inside of you? Knowing Jesus, I think it is. I think all of our hearts should be burning. Do you want Him? Do you want Him? He wants you. Let's give ourselves to Jesus. We're going to sing, what was it, the nail-scarred hand? If you would place your hand in the nail-scarred hand, He will take you and show you that revival is right around the corner. What do you need? What do you want? Let Jesus give it to you today. Let's stand. If you want to come and pray at the altar or pray with me, I invite you to do so. You can pray where you are. But if you want revival in your heart, just ask Him.